able to support the industry with about 35-40 lakhs each for each of the deployments, and we support about 10 to 15 such innovative plans every year. There are a few challenges. One big challenge is what works in a lab at a scale of 1:100 cannot be multiplied by 100 and taken to an industry immediately. I mean, that is something which many of the startups have realized when they go through this phase. Second, the startups are very, very particular about the tech behind it rather than how does it integrate with the other industrial processes. They are too focused on their contribution rather than looking at how does it gel well with the overall industrial ecosystem. The third area that usually happens is the engineering behind it. I mean, you have a good idea, but you don't know how to engineer it, which makes it industry ready. And therefore, I mean, the moment you see some of the very early stage startups doing an industry scale project, it looks like a college project. Somebody where you have some loose fitting equipment everywhere and things which are not up to scale. So these are all things there is a journey that people will have to undergo, and that is where this TRL levels understanding both for startups and for the industry is extremely important. It is not just the technology behind the idea, but how do you make it industry ready is something that these programs like Ascend and many others will definitely help startups go through that process.
Right. Thank you, sir. Santosh, sir, India is planned to reach net zero by 2070, but L&T, I think it has a more ambitious goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2040, I believe, and is also working on green hydrogen plants, which have sort of received mixed response across industries. So how is this going, and what are the hurdles you faced in executing these large-scale green hydrogen projects, infrastructure in it?
Yeah, L&T has a carbon neutrality target of 2040. So that is mainly focused towards, at all the project sites, it's predominantly diesel driven. So the target revolves around converting them into the grid, the increasing efficiency. Then we have identified almost 14,000 equipments which are more than 16-year-old. And we are replacing them with efficient ones as well as dual powered. And getting more and more renewable into the system, all kind of renewable. So what we are doing for the sector or for the industry is, we have our own indigenous electrolyzer that L&T has developed. So the first project and the largest green hydrogen project for India that we are doing is for IOCL at Panipat. That is 10,000 tons per year of green hydrogen delivery. So that is for the client. I'll come to what we are doing for ourselves. So it is not only about energy or decarbonizing energy, but its derivative will decarbonize other hard-to-abate sectors. We are doing one more project in joint venture with Itochu of Japan, where we are putting up green ammonia infrastructure at Kandla in Gujarat, where we will be supplying 3 lakh tons of green ammonia, and that will be used to decarbonize the marine fuel at Singapore. Yes, Singapore is one of the largest shipping hub and they have taken a net zero target. So within that infrastructure, within that Singapore port and all the shipping companies that come there will have this flexibility of using sustainable fuel. So that is what we are doing for the sector. A lot of research has gone into developing the first electrolyzer of India, which is successfully commissioned now. In fact, we have been using it off-grid for the last 5 years at Kandla, where the hydrogen that we require for our own consumption is all green now. So that we have already done. We are now doing it for the industry. So that's our in the beginning also I said we have a two-pronged strategy, one for the customers, where we help them decarbonize, provide technology, engineering and infrastructure. Secondly, we work for ourselves, decarbonizing our own ecosystem.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, Sumitra ma'am, digital twins are becoming the buzzword in construction and in the sustainability circle. So what kind of a difference can they really make to the construction phase or the building's performance, energy efficiency, etc.?
So it is for the entire life cycle. It's not only for the design or construction, it is for the life cycle of the project. That is what is most important. So you have all the you have it in the different models you do for different conditions, you do all of that, and then when it is finished, you apply the as-built. Then you create that this thing which is used for during the maintenance of the project. So the predictive maintenance. So it has, and it will give you all that. So it's connected to whatever the sensors, all that you already have put in place. So it is a continuous process. So it is not just that you design, you construct, it goes up to the this thing of demolition, recycling. So it is the entire stage. So that will really help in doing this whole process. So you have an exact replica of what you have built. So then that is what really helps in the entire life cycle. It's not just for the construction or for the maintenance, but it's through the entire life cycle. That is what is important.
Is it cost extensive?
It is. So it is on, depending on the scale. I think in larger scale, it will be more cost effective. On a smaller scale, it is still, it is a cost. But if everybody is aware and more people do it, then automatically the cost will come down.
Professor, IITM is, I think, working on a 100% renewable transition pilot, I think at its research park, correct me if I'm wrong. How replicable is this model for other institutes or even at like a city level?
I think IIT Madras is, the research park is world known now. It has also been started replicating in many other IITs because that is, we started more than a decade back and it is very successful and several startup has been ventured into great success stories in the setting up of their own industries. I think we also now scaling up in several aspects, addressing the various cutting-edge technologies required for the industry requirement, also for the societal needs. You must have seen that we also looked into the startups which are also working with space technologies. So they're all well known across the globe. So in that context, I think IITM is leading in bridging the industry academia gap through startups, and that is very important. And it can be also scaled up. I look at it maybe the industries can also plan maybe some of the opportunities to the existing startups, and they can look at it, the technologies, what they are having it. Maybe more and more involvement, collaboration with industry, startups, and academia will really helpful in and transition in addressing the climate change, accelerated the impacts in also in reducing the carbon footprints.
Thank you, sir. I think it's time for our Q&A. Thank you for the insights. We've heard how innovation is happening in labs and in industries and projects, and how scaling it will get India to its net zero goal. Let's open the floor for questions or comments.
Hi, thank you so much for the insights. I'm Venu. I'm the founder of Climacto. We help students and professionals transition to green jobs. My question is for all the panelists. So there's so much happening on climate tech, and India has its own ESG standard, the BRSR, and it's now going to go to the supply chain, etc. What are we doing in terms of upskilling our professionals and students on all of these aspects? Because if a final year or a third year engineering graduate or college graduate, if they are listening to all these, I'm not sure even 30 to 40% they will understand. So how are we going to address this? That's one question I have for the dais.
Professor, do you want to take this?
Maybe I'll just take up this question because also I also feel that this is important. the skill development is a need of the hour, because there are a lot of transition, as I mentioned, it is happening, and we also need to be update ourselves to meet the requirement. For example, couple of years we were not aware of how people will use mobile phone, WhatsApp and other things. But now if you go to any place, people are very comfortable using even any aspect of digital. So in that context, I think it is a time for us to bring out the training, both with research and industry. Industry should offer more internship so that the students can come and visit the industry, spend some time, and they can contribute to in addressing some of the issues. And there should be a societal engagement. I think this is a need of the hour. We should also create some kind of an science park where industry, academia, and also society bring together and discusses, understands what is the the futuristic way we should address the problems.
So at L&T, we are trying to address this at two levels. There is a skill gap, no doubt about it. We acknowledge it, and in any transition ecosystem, you will have that skill gap. Because the technology leads, and then you have the behavioral change happening, and then people adopting those technologies, and then the skills. For the construction part, we have our own CSTIs. We call them Construction Skill Training Institutes. 10 of them all across the country. There we are changing the curriculum and the training method on these new technologies or construction of new tech applications and projects. So that is one part that we are taking care of. Secondly, we offer a lot of internship, and then we take a lot many engineers on board every year, almost 2,500 engineers. And they go through a rigorous training, there's a training module for them, fully knowing that 2 years down the line, hardly 50% stick with us. Still, we keep on doing that as a part of our responsibility, take all those people, train them, and then if they continue with us, nothing like it.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any more questions?
Dear panel members, first of all, thanks for your insight. So my question revolves around life cycle assessment and its integration in clean tech. So as you know, anything which doesn't get quantified is super challenging to understand on what kind of credible or direction that you have to work upon, and that's where life cycle assessment helps us to understand on what is the environmental impact across its life cycle. And given the fact that the database availability is very scattered and also a lack of a mandatory compliance across all sectors in its implementation, what would be your recommendation to industries or government stakeholders on implementing life cycle assessment so that it helps to understand where exactly we can focus in clean tech to solve the issue, and rather just not focusing on operation carbon footprint of the clean tech alone? That is my question. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I think it's an important question, because the question is around how do we measure the life cycle impact of products and understand what is the actual environmental impact that is happening. A very valid question. And you also, made a statement that data sets are not available. Data sets are something where, as a country, we have not invested as much. We are still dependent on European or predominantly European data sets when it comes to life cycle inventory or life cycle assessment. At CII, we have done a few initiatives on data sets. We have already got India-specific data sets for about 20 or 30 commonly used products, but these are again very small compared to what is required in the overall ecosystem. So there is a discussion which is currently going on with some of the policymakers, NITI and others, in terms of creating an India LCA forum. That is something which is in the works, and it is too early to talk about it, but the thinking has started. For example, if you look at countries like Malaysia or Thailand or Indonesia, they have come up with their own country LCA forums. The moment a country LCA forum comes, many things change. One, you will have a lot of research organizations and institutes working on data sets. Second, you will have a lot of focus on public procurement with LCA indicators. So you will start looking at what kind of procurement should be done by the government or by the private sector, keeping LCA in mind. And from a research labs, the moment you have an LCA thinking in the country, it will move from the research labs to the society. So today, if you were to ask, is a glass bottle better or is a paper cup better? I mean, these are all things where each person might have their own interpretation, but the moment you have a lot of thinking that goes behind it in terms of the overall environmental impact specific to the country, this will drive action. So long answer, but the summary is there is thinking happening. India is looking at creating an India LCA forum. It should happen in a year or two, but the moment that happens, you will have a whole lot of ecosystem players working on LCA in the country.
Can we pass the mic to here? There's a
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Vishal from Zero Watt Energy. We are also incubated at IIT Madras as well. My question to Mr. Santosh, or in general industry professionals, is when you have a deep tech platform or software that you want to implement, when the vision comes down from the higher management, how does it trickle down to the other members, the functional members of the company or the industry? And how do you implement that in terms of an overall vision to ensure that the adoption, not just the adoption is there, but also they understand it from their level, and how do they use it on a regular basis?
I think the question is that once we have a centralized focus, a centralized strategy, how do we implement it across the business horizontally as well as vertically? Is that so?
Yes, yes. And also how to continue implementing this on a day-to-day basis, and not just as a, a top-level directive, but it's on a day-to-day, they are able to use it functionally.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing we need to understand, sustainability has to be a top-driven agenda. You cannot have sustainability as a democratic process coming up from bottom to top. So that is a clear understanding. So whatever we have to do, it has to be driven from the top. The second part is a very challenging for a conglomerate like us. How do we get it consistently, vertically as well as horizontally, having so many independent businesses comprising L&T and then so many levels. At any point of time, we are working at more than 700 sites. So that's the scale itself is a challenge. So what we do is, once we have like our goals, like 2040 is a target, then we work on 5-year Lakshya plans. We call them Lakshya plans. L26 is getting over. We are working on L31. So as a part of that 5-year plan, the planning goes to much granular level, where we have broken down plans for all the businesses at all the verticals, and all the projects which are already existing and the projects that will come. So that is the way it is. It trickles down throughout the organization. And then the second part is, how do we monitor and review it on a real-time basis so that we can course correct. So for that, we have invested a lot in technology. I'll give you an example. Wherever water flows into L&T system, it is metered. And it's a digital meter with an IoT device. And the data is captured centrally, and it's on a real-time basis. All the energy that we get, all the energy meters within L&T are metered. All smart meters connected to our data lake with a IoT platform. So that's the kind of monitoring we have built in. And then we work on SAP and EIP. So we have a very clear visibility month on month, quarter on quarter. And then it is reviewed by the board level committee at quarterly interval. So there is a very serious board level oversight on the direction in which we are going. So that is the way we feel that is working for us. It may not work for other organizations, but we feel that it is working for L&T. Thank you.
Sir, do you still have the question? Please pass the mic to him. He's been.
Hi, hello. So I am M.R. Karthik, a social and technology entrepreneur. So I have a question on air quality index, right? Last week, I'm a layman, okay, so last week I was reading a report that whatever we are measuring in the AQI index does not actually capturing the particle matter, but not on the heavy metals or any microplastics. So even though the AQI level is lower, but still the environment might have the lead concentration and etc. So we are working on bringing up pipelines to measure the life cycle, identifying data sets, and also preparing the mindsets. These are all future. But what we have set up now, which is being monitored and adhered to, so what is the trust we can have on these systems? and how are we going to mitigate these challenges? We can expect more to come because there are a lot of dimensions we are uncovering. So how are we prepared for these challenges?
Thank you for the interesting question. So this is just to give you some idea about air quality. Air quality is more like a local problem. So it is, unless there is a stack releases the air pollution which goes beyond 100 kilometers. So otherwise, all the traffic which is contributing air emissions, which resulting into the air quality, the construction activities which contributing, resulting air quality, all the restaurants or the households, all the activities that are contributing, they are all local air quality. So in general, if you try to look at the monitoring stations, we'll be able to capture the air quality only maximum an extent of 1 kilometer. So it means that whatever the air quality which is reflecting in many cities, these are all limited with number of measurements. So number of monitoring station reflecting on that. So for example, a city which is having only 5 monitoring stations, but it is a square area of about 500 square kilometer, but it is not specific. But generally we try to look at it, whether the air pollutants in that particular area is dominated by traffic, whether the air pollutant in that particular area is dominated by commercial activities, or air pollution dominated by construction activities or industrial activities. So that gives an idea of what is the source which is contributed. Government of India has started clean air program about 4 or 5 years back. That has given an idea about the kind of characteristics of the air quality in different environments. So as a result, you know that what is the toxic chemicals, the toxic elements that are existing, and based on that, they are also coming out with a policy in addressing this air pollution. So in the future, as I just was trying to mention earlier, so all these monitoring stations can also act as an air purifiers. So that could be the way forward to look at it. They only not monitor the air quality, but also purifies the air, whatever it is which is polluted in that particular environment.
Thank you, sir.
Very frequently we hear reports from NCR about the air quality, right? So because of the prime reason cited is stubble burning. So just many people have come out with different solutions, and even different agencies try to come out with suggestions between Green Tribunal and government agencies. So just my question is, while rice as well as wheat is cultivated in many states, why this particular stubble burning is happening only in the NCR region, primarily Haryana and Chandigarh? Is it because of the greediness of the farmers? So is it because of the political issues people are not openly talking about it?
I only talk about from the technical point of view. The Delhi air pollution, if you try to look at it, Delhi is not like, we are blessed with sea breeze and land breeze. As a result, all the pollutants, whatever happens in Chennai, it will all get diluted. So just because of sea breeze and land breeze. So Delhi is not having such an advantage with that. So it is a kind of a bowl. So if the wind direction is coming from the stubble burning area, so all these pollutants will carry to the Delhi, and Delhi will get accumulated. And because of all this, the change in infrastructure, and it is not allowing the pollutants to be dispersed. So all these aspects make the pollutants to be get accumulated, and that is one of the reason they try to look at it. Meteorological conditions, if you is a favor for accumulation of these pollutants in that particular time period, and if they can just avoid during that period and try to look at it, if some dispersion, dilution is possibility, then the activities can still take place. So this is my, to response to your question. It is nothing to do with, the other aspects. It's only purely on the meteorological conditions and the locations of the particular city. So in other aspects, I also try to look at it. There is a need for policy in the urban infrastructure. I just look at it so all the tall buildings, if we are trying to look at it, we are obstructing the flow of air in the city. So if you try to look at it, if you just make it the one floor, the ground floor is just for a parking, which allows the air to circulate at the bottom. Otherwise, you try to look at it, all the pollutants are accumulating within the 10 meters, and we will be always breathe our air within 1.5 meter. So I think with just a simple kind of a mechanism, if you can adapt it, allow the air to be circulated freely, even at the ground level, will reduce a significant amount of pollution in the cities.
I have one question of my own. What role does public public-private partnership play in funding and adoption of clean tech solutions? Santosh sir, do you want to answer?
Speak about the infrastructure sector, what is happening. Now, public-private partnership is a great concept, no doubt about it. The whole idea, but then you have to understand how it is actually operating. The whole idea of public-private partnership was to share the risk and share the rewards. But what is happening is only the reward is being shared, risk nobody is ready to share. So that is what was actually happening to PPP projects.
Maybe I just wanted to add to Santosh, maybe in the future it is important to look at it, financing. So carbon financing, whichever the industries which reduces the emissions play more important role in protecting the environment, creating the sustainability, not for the tomorrow, but sustainability for the healthy life, to adaptability and make sure that it provides a cleaner environment. So if that comes, maybe carbon financing could be the future way of looking at in terms of bringing more and more acceptability to the society.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Do we have any more questions? One in the front.
Myself, Dr. Pramina Shija. I'm heading the Department of Environmental Sciences from ASDNB Vaishnava College for Women. My question is, we are creating awareness to all, but common people are not following that. Even after a festival, they are polluting the air. They are not following the strict timings, especially during the Diwalis. They are given some restricted timings. People are not following it. So do we need to, how to make the environment pollution can be reduced? Maybe we need to have some stringent actions or any policies should be taken. Can you give me what we can do further? Because a commoner, not all, we are concentrating mainly on industries. Everyone are polluting the environment. So this is, environment is common for all. We should have all having the responsibility to protect it, but many of them are not using it. Can you give suggestions?
I think there are already regulations in place and compliance authorities and all that. Of course, I think everyone would agree that it's not always 100%, but I think steps are being taken both from the side of the government authorities and the industries to keep pollution or emissions in check, more or less, I feel. Last question, sir. Gentleman in the front.
This is directed to Mr. Santosh. In industrial refrigeration, for structural integrity, there is a solution of temperature-controlled concrete, which L&T is already doing. So you have a lot of chilling plants, ice machines, which are deployed at several of your project sites. Overall, in India, do you see understanding in this particular concept among people? Or do you see other construction companies looking at this as a cost burden?
Yeah, those kind of arrangements are done when there is a very specific requirement of the quality of concrete and the type of usage it will go through. For example, the bullet train that we are building, there we have used this technology, we have chillers and all those things, temperature control, because that infrastructure has to withstand the speed and vibration of 350 kilometers per hour of an entire train load. So those are very special applications where the demand is such that you have to do it. Wherever it is not required, there is no point in doing it. If I am building a G+1 house, then there is no point in getting to that quality of concrete, and that kind of strength is not required at all. It will be a wasteful expenditure. You have to always see whether it is feasible to do it or not. But yes, the technology is there, and wherever required, I think now it's getting into an industry practice also. Even there are other contractors who are doing that high-speed rail projects or dedicated freight corridors. They have also started adopting this technology.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the questions, and thank you to all our panelists for their wonderful insights.
A big thank you to our panelists and our moderator. May I now request Mr. Shafiqur Rahman, General Manager, Tamil Nadu, the Hindu Group, to please felicitate our panelists. I now call upon Mr. V. Shrikant, the Chief General Manager of CPCL, to please felicitate our panelists and moderator. Thank you so much to all of our panelists and our moderator for that discussion. I think we definitely learned a lot. Policy and governance for climate action, how regulation, incentives, and public-private collaboration can accelerate sustainable growth. We'd like to welcome our panelists, starting off with Professor Sultan Ahmed Ismail, member of the State Planning